recording. Let's talk about Will's girlfriends.
I will leave, some of this to him. I don't know all the stories. I know the weirdness that he's gone through with some of them, but also some of the good times, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But this is on Bumble.
That's where he was last. I think he started out using Match, which I've used before. Mm-hmm. But all you do on Match is fish. Like, as a guy...
So you wait for bites or what?
No, as a guy, you just... It's carpet bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like...
What do you mean by that? Tell
just
me.
Like swipe right all the fucking time until somebody like responds back to you.
Like reduce Dresden down to the sidewalks.
I hate to say it. This is what's the phrase I'm trying to remember. It's like most guys I know that get a lot of pussy don't use a line. They cast a gill net, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is,
aren't those illegal?
I'm not gonna discuss that.
I think we're mixing metaphors with literalism.
Yeah. No, that's
I've been on the market for 23 years.
No, the thing is, so you don't just wait for things to happen there unless you're like a male model, right? You just
right.
You have to if you see a match, you have to just throw it out to everybody.
Oh, you got to be exceptionally active.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you're like a male model who's standing next to a Bugatti.
And then at that point...
and then you might have a woman respond to you.
One.
Well, no, at that point... Look, the numbers don't lie, where it's basically it's something like 5% of all guys get 96% of the attention.
No, if you watch the graphs on Match, there's 1% of the dudes getting 90% of the attention.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Whereas on the female side, it's a little bit more even of a.
It's a little bit more of a bell curve.
It's not. I'm not.
It's a little bit more friendly to your 5s and 6s,
right.
As opposed to demanding 10s the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is that just based on the user base?
That's evolution. I mean, women are just. I mean, honestly, women are challenged with the responsibility of keeping the species going at high levels, so they have to be somewhat picky.
All right, fair. Anyway, I'm Pat.
Oh, I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Ryan.
Yes.
Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you.
Special guest, Ryan.
All right, let's talk about dating.
Well, I think we kind of are. This is
not really.
Well, no, it's an interesting point because if you turn it around there, right, and you say, all right, I've heard so many different arguments about this because this shit goes back and forward, right? When you talk about if you're to believe any element of biological psychology, or evolutionary,
which
yes,
is 95% horseshit, but
I tend to go higher.
Yeah, but most psychology is though anyway.
I tend to go higher because there's absolutely no. It's all theoretical. There's no practical evidence that you can use to back this up.
right.
Well, not only. Well, no. Actually, I take back. There is practical evidence. You can't test it.
Well, yeah. Which means it's that I wouldn't even consider that hearsay. That's a theory.
Well, you're talking
never
about
get S and IRB on that.
You're talking about the entirety of social science.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah.
Which I would agree with you on that level.
Yeah. No, so because the problem here is when you're going to dial this back and say all right, so this male drive to quote unquote conquer and all this other stuff, this was an evolutionary advantage during this time. It's prove it. Okay, I got it. It's a theory, but I can't. This is where they try to go in there and say well, the reason Mark Cuban is so successful in business is because he has that evolution.
And see, I would agree with you on that.
Do that off his face.
That's too specific. You're trying to apply general concepts to a specific instance.
I'm not.
I'm not saying I'm saying evolutionary psychology. When you take that and be the reason this one particular guy did this, no. I'm talking about the concept of the one that comes up to me the most is and I relate it to a lot in life because right now, if you look at our political discourse in this country,
oh God,
it's completely based off of hysterics, and we gravitate towards hysterics. Like if I present you a TV show that's going to go into
Maybe by hysterics. It's like extremes.
sure.
Okay. All right.
Extremes and using hysterics and hyperbole.
Sure.
So we need to, there's a difference between like, well, let's talk about how we can properly recycle plastics and how we can best use them in society.
Sure.
Versus like, if we don't do something about the plastics, we're all going to die in 10 years.
Right. Right.
Okay.
One is a nuance, one is a hysteric. They're both leading the same point. So, I mean, one could be, I guess, called extreme, but the goal is they both actually want to get to the same spot. One,
where's that?
One leads you there a different way, dealing with the problem.
If the end goal is let's clean it up, then you're
Yes.
absolutely right.
Yes.
And this is the problem is, yes, you're never going to sell any newspapers with a headline that says everything is fine.
No. Or,
Even
not only is everything fine, not only is everything fine, but you can move it back from that and be like, things are a problem, but they're solvable.
Right.
That's not going to get you
that's so
through.
softy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Okay, I gotcha.
you have to move to the hysterics. And part of that from evolutionary psychology, I do agree, but this is you have to move it back to a general sense, and you can't do it on a very specific sense. Is why do we gravitate to extreme? Why do we gravitate to hyperbole? Why do I want to watch something that is extreme? And you can go into, does it, adrenaline, different types of hormones that are released because you do it. But one aspect is if you overreact to a situation, which is what we do to everything now. We have a marketplace of overreacting to everything. Well, you boil that back down into evolutionary biology. And so me as a animal on the Serengeti, walking by a bush, if that bush starts shaking and rattling, well, if I overreact and freak out to it and run away from it screaming, I live. No matter what is in that bush, I'm alive the next day.
Yeah, but
If there's a duck in there,
Okay.
I'm an idiot from running from a duck,
Okay.
but I know what it is.
All right.
But if it's a lion, my
isn't
reaction
that
is good.
like putting both your chips on a table in terms of what can be easily explained by evolutionary psychology as opposed towards learned behavior.
Well,
Yes.
the problem is
Okay.
that actually, there's a book I read on this called The Distracted Mind, right?
Yeah,
Okay, and this
I'm familiar.
I am
this one specifically, they do, this was more to do with basically like electronics, right? Basically what they talk about the computer, but the phone as well. It's all part of that same kind of connectivity thing, right? So if you're going to talk about it from a biological level, the one thing that they actually can trace is, in order for our ancestors to survive, right? They had mental rewards that came basically from new information. Okay. And this is the thing, exactly what you're talking about when you're going to that watering hole, right? The more new things that your brain perceives, it sees as a reward, right?
a conditioned response.
Well, this is they document. Look, the mind does crave novelty. There's no two ways around that. We know that,
Sure.
right? But at the same time, this is the same sort of thing where if you weren't interested, if you weren't mentally rewarded, basically with a small hit, right? You wouldn't be as aware of your surroundings, and that's wherein because you have to know when you jump from the bushes. If it's a duck, I want to eat it. If it's a lion, I want to run from it, right? And that's where the reward mechanism comes in, and that's where the extension of this becomes problematic, right? Because with this, every new little bit of information is another, right? Whether it's a Facebook post, whether it's an email, whether it's right? And it's essentially how addiction works is in order for it to be interesting, right? It has to be more impact and shorter.
Oh yeah.
So like TikTok exists.
Yeah, exactly. But you're talking about the dopamine hit.
Yeah, it is the dopamine.
And so, like, I've seen a couple of criticisms of dopamine lately where it's a highly misunderstood kind of like whatever it is, like chemical or whatever. So that it's not like this like fundamental drug.
It's not heroin or.
Well, I think a lot of people have been taking that direction. So
How's it recording? I just want to know. Is it still showing normal?
yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it says stop recording.
I just want no. I just
hit that button.
I just wanted to make sure nothing weird was going on from last time.
Speaking of dopamine,
Yeah, it's.
But I think it's and where I go with the evolutionary psychology is a broad general sense, and I think using it for anything more specific than that becomes a fool's errand.
well, it's nothing that's predicative.
No, and
okay.
and it's also it's not terribly predictive at all, and it's also a layer in we also as humans have a tendency to want to find the magic bullet for every subject.
Sure.
Like, this is the one thing causing the problem. It's like, well, actually, no, there's like 70,000 things causing the problem. You're just picking the one thing.
Well, you can't pick a speaker.
That's actually.
But when it comes down, but when it comes down to what you can actually see, like females picking males,
Yes.
that is evolutionarily shown in mammalian, especially primates, that males will literally have sex with anything, and females are
Right,
the
yeah.
responsible creatures to find the better male to actually have sex with.
Good theory. Yes.
Well, I
I don't think there's
yeah.
any theory to it. I think it's pretty well demonstrated. And a really great demonstration of that is the monkeypox thing that went and is now gone.
Yeah. What do you want to say about monkeypox?
Well, look where it was most predominant.
guys who
Almost exclusively predominant.
A male gay society.
right, yeah,
And it's because male will have completely random sex with any other male,
Yes.
any port in a storm. Yeah,
always, constantly. And they will have many, many partners because they're all males, so they have that still male wiring. If you throw women into the mix, women temper that and limit the sexual activity.
well, they take on all the risk.
Well, they take on the responsibility. They take on the risk and responsibility. And so they shut that down. So you
Right.
throw a bunch of horny guys who are attracted to each other in a room and they'll all have sex with each other. You throw a bunch of horny guys who are attracted to horny girls in a room, and even though the girls are horny, it is still tempered. It is not an all-out orgy.
No, it's not. It's, and I mean, you can argue the different merits of that, and the also, the other problem here is, of course, when you talk about within the mammals, right? When you're saying like they're choosy about the best male, the arguments about what makes the best male are different.
That's very different.
That's part of the problem, right?
Well,
Because
yeah.
I was going to turn around and say, like, all right, if I were to take a subgroup of what should be the most desirable females, right, in society, if I were going to take what would constitute just most desired by most amount of people, right, at any given time.
Most amount of people or most amount of males?
Let's say most amount of males, although you could
There
say
you go.
you could say women too. I mean, if you're looking at that,
You gotta
that's
attack
not
that
really.
down. That's a little bit different.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're talking about females being desired by,
Yeah, sure.
males
Yeah.
in a sexual manner, you would have to be looking at essentially celebrities, right? And when celebrities make choices as to who they couple with, it is oftentimes baffling. Like,
I don't think it's
Pete
really a
Davidson is
celebrity
fucking
issue.
ugly.
Yeah, he's horrifying.
Yeah.
So same thing with Machine Gun Kelly.
I agree,
yeah.
and that's what I'm saying is.
But
They get Kardashians.
and you're also going with the simply physical appearance.
They don't seem smart.
What Pete Davidson has over me is a tremendous amount of money and social influence that
Yeah,
I've
but
never had.
he snagged a chick who that's not remarkable.
That's not even
an issue.
close to. That's not even close to a condition in terms of something that she needs.
Is it?
Additional money? I mean,
I guess unless they're gonna tear themselves to pieces.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it goes into like what is, and I think the debate is whether it is appropriate from a particular evolutionary scale. But
what I'm saying is
Pete Davidson is exceptionally successful, has more money than I will ever have, and has more social status than I will have. No matter though, he's not that bright, and he's kind of looks like a crack addict.
Yes, but then again,
But he also gets the most amazing looking women on the planet.
I think it's because he has more exposure and visibility.
And apparently he's hung like a horse. But that, I mean,
I can't imagine that Reggie Bush wasn't. I can't imagine. Well, this is what I'm saying is you're talking about guys in the same stratosphere of wealth, right? Because I mean, by that.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, that you're talking about something that even goes back to evolutionary biology. You're saying, well, that woman should pick me because I'm smarter and better looking.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Well, that's the theory behind it is like Pete Davidson's ugly and dumb, and so you should be picking somebody more good looking and smart. But at the game of life, Pete Davidson is winning much more than I am.
Really?
I don't know. That's
no. I
kind of
get where you're going with on that
And
one.
it may come off
I
as
think
superficial.
like his life is just a little bit more visible than anybody else's.
Well, but again, he's winning at the game in life, depending on how you set it up. If the game of life is an evolutionary concept where it is the biggest, baddest, best, and I accomplish the most, and I hoard the most, I have the most resources, I have the most power.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson is beating me.
Yeah.
And he's beating a lot of guys. And power and resource is what women are looking for. And evolutionarily, what they should be looking for.
well, again. This
And
is
even though in the
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on this one.
well, no. Okay, so this is the problem that you're talking about here is you're looking at
It's
a.
ugly though.
You know what? I can name a bunch of guys that are just as ugly. Like, there's a bunch of guys that fit in that same fucking category. Like Russell Brand looks like he has feline AIDS. Okay, and
Brand does have feline AIDS.
okay, and Katy Perry. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. This is the stuff that I'm saying. Like, all right,
Well, she traded up.
But that dude is also pretty fucking intelligent.
he is, but don't.
Definitely has feline AIDS.
But this is what I'm saying here is like I would argue, okay, and this is do not ever throw me into that fucking like PUA camp, but like
What is PUA?
pickup artist, bullshit. Where I will argue
Like
that
a player. Like
well, no, there's a whole like camp of pickup artist type is where they talk about things like nigging. That's what
What is negging?
I don't.
no, it's where you're
Jesus, I'm so out of touch.
where you drop negative comments to somebody, so it forces the girl to defend themselves, and you get them. So you basically make them insecure of themselves.
Shit, I've seen
and
that
they
on
try to win,
TikTok.
and they try to win your approval.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. It's
So this is those two guys that got picked up in fucking Hungary.
No. This
okay.
is something else. This is but
Wait,
it's,
what?
It's an extension of that. Yeah, you're talking about that one fucking dickhead. That's fucking
Who's that
Mr.
guy?
Macho.
Oh,
yeah.
the guy who sent the text to or the tweet.
Oh, Greta Thunberg. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that dude's name? Oh,
I don't know. It's
I want to say Drake because he reminds me of Drake, but he's not Drake.
He's a dude.
No, but he's like a professed YouTube misogynist. Like he thinks women are
Oh,
lesser than
yeah,
men.
yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
like
yeah.
actually like argues that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well, he's the response
The
to
guy with all the fucking Ferraris and
and the
shit.
Bugattis, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's the response to the pushback against toxic masculinity. What he did was he went and he said like, yes, I'm a toxic masculine, and I'm gonna let my flag fly on that one.
And for $10 a month, I'm going to teach you how to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
And then in doing so, apparently he trafficked in women or something. And
Well, the
he got
dude-
arrested for it in Romania, I think it was.
Yeah. The dude's been a fucking grifter for years. Okay, this is his thing. It's
Yeah, he's a
basically
YouTube star. That's what they are.
well, I mean, like we're talking about like. I would not be surprised. I can't remember the full list of like schemes he and his dumbass brother have been doing for years.
Oh, is he a brother?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's-
gross.
and you know, I'm absolutely certain somebody did some like fucking Ameristar or
He's trying to sell me some fucking Amway. Fucking
guarantee you his job at 17 was selling Cutco knives or whatever.
right, yeah, exactly. Upgrade
he's-
knives to vacuums to cars to
Yeah.
houses. Yeah.
He's been a shitty huckster for a long time, and this is something that landed on him. And yeah, he's also probably bit the nose off a fucking hooker, so it wouldn't surprise me.
But he
But
trafficked in him, apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
but I don't know the whole story of that yet because you know the arrest.
Billy Snibbs.
But
Yeah.
But no, so the thing about this, one of the concepts they do talk about in that circle is they do talk about peacocking, right?
Yeah.
What is peacocking?
Well, it's like a peacock. You flip your feathers up. It's the bird of paradise thing. You have your fancy dress. You have your fancy suit. You have your fancy car. You're peacocking. You put your feathers up.
Which of the male or the female of the bird species looks more colorful?
It's always the male. Because
Right.
the females are the ones who have
Oh
to
shit!
kick
I
the
was
spirit.
backwards on that. I thought those were female peacocks.
Nope.
No, those are males.
No, the
Oh, fuck.
female peacocks are called peahens. And they're really plain, right?
No, they're very plain.
So the whole idea here is
So they take care of the eggs and move on.
And pick the right guy to
Right.
help evolution.
and this is
Oh shit! That makes way more sense.
this is where again you go through the animal kingdom. You're like, if you look at the female versions, often they're more plain because like if you look at the male line, he doesn't do shit. But it all comes down to which one's the biggest one, which one has the biggest mane. Okay, that makes a big difference. The biggest, darkest mane.
Oh,
is,
okay.
Right. So there's this theory out there where you
Oh,
say,
like lions and
yeah,
stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
Oh, I thought they were the toughest.
they're tough
Possibly.
too. Like I'm not gonna
Oh, yeah.
fuck with one. I'm not gonna be like, hey, you're poor, or I don't know. It's
That was a good cut. Hey, you're poor.
I don't.
Look at the dots here. Yeah.
It's the privilege, yeah.
That
So
almost sounds like understanding. Like it's not real threatening.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Some nibbling lion that went to Oxford.
Well, that's the argument. There is
Couldn't get into Yale, so he had to go to Brown.
this is where supposedly like male peacocking comes in. It's like those guys you sit there and see have like stupid face tattoos or whatever, things that are like they seem ugly, but they're outstanding because it grabs people's attention.
See, I thought face tattoos were related to like time in prison.
They used to be, but
Oh, okay.
why did that evolve? Why? Because women were paying attention to it.
Because they got three
Were they
tattoos
really?
and
I'm sorry. I think you crossed the Rubicon on the face tattoo.
Biologically speaking,
Like,
if
there's a
face
difference between
tattoos-
standing next to my Bugatti and having a face tattoo.
I get it, but if face tattoos were
Especially if it's on
so
face,
unappealing, right, that would have died out already.
I just
Biologically
I don't know.
speaking,
No.
it would have died out because it would be unsuccessful.
Because here's the other side of the
yeah,
coin:
like,
is
go stab me out at dinner.
humans have done a wonderful job, kind of destroying concepts of evolution.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Cock ass. Yeah.
But this is the same kind of thing. Like if you look at it and you say like, okay, nobody would do this with their teeth. Nobody would do these things with their clothes.
I think if I sharpened my teeth, my wife would leave me.
she would have questions at the very least.
Well, as she should.
Yeah, I hope she would leave
Yeah.
you. If you sharpen your teeth, your wife should leave you.
No, she should ask questions first. she should.
Okay, no, I agree with that.
Like if she like
Like, why are you doing that? Yeah.
if she comes to you and she says, "Oh my God, you have a fever of 109, so this is why you're sharpening your teeth. We need to do something." about it."
Sure.
Right.
And there's a level of involuntariness at that point. Yeah.
Right. Now, if it's
But
just
if it's like, oh, I watched like Kirsten Stewart on Twilight, and so I just wanted to sharpen my teeth. It's time for a divorce.
or it's just like, oh, it's Thursday afternoon. I don't have anything else to do.
Sure.
Right? I don't
I
know.
looked in the mirror.
It's
I had a
reason.
file. I went for it.
There's coyotes in my backyard. I need to take them out.
Like, and that's the thing. She looks at that and says, like, a man is finally being protective. I love that. Right?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I don't know.
She could use one of my 20.
Again, it's on her.
could, yeah.
It's on her
Yeah.
to be the evolutionary protector, not you. You're free to do whatever you want. That's the male. That's the male thing right there.
Is that the current meme?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is the.
I'm just saying you have no responsibility because it's her responsibility.
Right. Yeah. No. Sorry, man. I don't want to violate my car insurance.
No, what we were talking about was the skewed curve on dating sites, whereupon women that are clearly
Way bad now.
North Dakota sixes seem to think they're Las Vegas.
So I hear that like
And,
on all
yeah.
those dating sites that like anybody who's a woman like actually has like the plumbing for a woman will right swipe on anybody who's not in the top 5%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're
No,
gonna
that's
go
the
on,
curve
if you're
he's
gonna go, yeah.
So I mean, what's the problem with that? If you're gonna bat 1,000, go for 1,000. If you're gonna strike out, strike out.
Well, no, that's what he's talking about. So, like, you lay a gill in that, and like, so unless you're a supermodel, you basically
Okay.
you email every single woman that pops into your inbox.
All right, I get the gill nut metaphor now.
Right, but the problem with this, the problem with basically like fives left swiping sevens and eights, right, is the expectation is way out of control, right? Because at that, eventually what happens is a resentment grows, right? Because then it turns around, it's like, oh, so this side is only entirely.
So, but don't they like entirely get another fresh cut of guys to like throw up there every like year or two? So,
Well, you don't fish it every year or two.
well, maybe they do.
No,
Like your 5 or 6 women's.
what?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not.
Anymore.
What do
I
you
don't know
mean?
what's going on?
I don't mean to make a mean face at you.
So if I like have a whole bunch of like 4 through 7 guys
Yeah.
who like are posting themselves up on what is the dating site? What is it?
We'll just go with Tinder. It's the easiest.
Tinder
one.
is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if they get enough, like, what's the good one? Left swipe or right swipe?
Right swipe is good. Left swipe is
So
good.
okay, so we left swipe all these dudes down.
Yes.
Okay, so what's to prevent another crop of like maybe 8, 9s, or 10s to show up to the next year?
Well, this is the look. They may show up and look, and they can right swipe all the 8, 9s, and 10s all they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What I'm saying here is the problem is that when you have a bunch of like 4s and 5s just constantly left swiping and looking at perfectly good 6s, 7s, and 8s and going like, ew, gross, right?
Yeah.
The problem here is that you have a lot of people who have a very inflated sense of self-worth. And because of that,
On which side of this? Like,
well, I hate to
female
say it,
side?
the math says women are worse at this,
well, yeah, no, I get that.
right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing is they'll sit there and thumb through and say like, well, I don't deserve anything less than an 8. And then the question
Right.
is, what do you bring to the table that warrants an 8 status? So
Nothing.
Well, I don't know. So
Yeah.
if you're a 4, okay, but let's say that you actually do have a wonderful person. You're a great person, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know that from Tinder.
No, you can't.
Right, I can read your bio, but nobody does. It's pointless. Right,
Tinder's looks only.
looks only, right?
Yeah,
Now you
okay.
can look on other, dating sites, and it gets marginally better, but only marginally, right? But still,
Well, those are the ones you have to sign up for and say, like, I'm a bona fide Latter-day Saints kind of guy or something.
what?
Well, you have to, like, reduce the pool at that point in time and say, like, oh, no, I'm a Christian.
Well, you can go on Christian Mingle, or you can, if
Well,
you're,
that's what I'm talking about. Isn't that where those guys go?
What's going
No, I'm sorry. I'm so far out.
you are, so I don't know what you're talking
on? I'm
about.
not sure what's being asked.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
Where are we going with this anyway?
Well, I don't know. This is just how we jumped in. I just brought it back to the topic. That's it.
No, it's true.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, rant on.
No, but yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, 5% of the guys get like 95% of the attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would I stay there if I'm not in that 85% or 95%?
That's gonna happen wherever you go.
But eventually it draws. I mean, it's eventually. Eventually, there's not enough guys in the 5% to make it going. So the girls just
They do what they've always done.
They settle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same thing at the bar.
Oh, yeah,
all the girls want the really good-looking guy. Once he goes away with the other girl, then they look the other guys.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it happens digitally versus analog.
Yeah, it's just that, people want to do it on, on dating sites because it saves them that dreaded encounter of having to do this in person, right?
Well, I mean, I guess the thing that I would look forward to it at that point in time is like, well, I know everybody out here is single. So that was always the big question when I was like dating.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was like,
yeah.
Well, and there is, and I think you're minimizing a little bit too, where you do get to see people's interests right away, as opposed to walking up to the girl at the bar, being like,
right, have to
I
spend an hour.
have no idea what she's into. If I walk up and it's all of a sudden I'm talking about like
Yeah, Depeche Mode.
unicorns and Depeche Mode, and like this was a really bad choice.
Yeah, I just
At
wasted
least
3
you get to
hours.
see
Yeah,
that.
okay.
And so, like, when you do, like, Match or eHarmony or these other, you do put a profile in where it says, like, you like these things, so we're going to send you women who like
Yeah.
these things, too,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
It was like, oh, wait, how much weed do you smoke a week?
I mean, I remember a long time ago
Yeah, okay.
where they had a, oh, God, what show is it on? Behavioral psychologist talking about eHarmony. And eHarmony has a pretty significant
Questionnaire
questionnaire format that you fill out.
Really?
Before you go online, like it really kind of
Like,
like
what
tries
does it
to
ask?
everything, like from your physicality to all your interests to your educations to books you read
to your morality.
to your
That's the
morality.
piece
I
of
mean,
What do
it.
you mean your morality? What
Your
does it
values.
ask?
Values.
Yeah, it'll ask you questions about like judgments. Is this right? Is this wrong? Is this those things like that? Yeah.
Really?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
It
so
doesn't do shit for you.
but what's funny about it is like,
Impressively invasive. So,
yes,
yeah.
but it's meant to be because the idea is they're trying to match somebody with you that would jive with who you are. And I remember watching behavioral psychologists because it would come up where you get like a 98% match. And
What would happen?
and people would swipe fucking left because you don't look good.
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah, and behavioral psychologist is like, if you find somebody in life that's a 70% or greater match, you stick to that person because you will never do any better in just random real life. Like,
sure.
Like the grocery store that's going to meet you at like 80% match. He's like, but no, we get, and it was weird. And I think, and I even did it when I would do online dating. There's a level of, so many options that the grass is always a little bit greener.
Oh, so you'd flip somebody over.
Where you get more and more particular. You can get more and more
got it.
particular. Where it's like, oh, you like white cars? Oh, all right, fuck you.
Right.
And it's like some of the most absurd shit. And it's because you have this giant pool of people out there. So you can almost get more demanding. Both guys and girls more especially for sure, but
Yeah,
more
sure,
guys
yeah.
too.
Oh, okay.
And it
And it gets dumb too, because you're like, oh, she
I
seems
can see
perfect.
that.
Well, you're like, She seems perfect, but that's a Raiders jacket.
Yeah.
Gone.
No, exactly. Yeah, and so I think there's an aspect of to that where there almost seems to be an ending supply. Like, well, if you're like Seinfeld. I mean, Seinfeld was great at where you're just the most insignificant or asinine shit. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll ditch them for that because I can find
Yankees
somebody
versus Mets. Got it.
else. Right.
Right.
Oh, that's
She's
really
just
depressing.
too good. I mean,
Well, and this is the thing. You would never, at least I would like to think of, you wouldn't give that same sort of discarding manner to a person like that in real life.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is
not.
the weird point. It becomes so. It becomes. I don't know. She just doesn't like I can do it all day.
Don't
it's
touch
fine.
me.
But but I don't know. But yeah, it's a little weird. It becomes a little bit dehumanizing, and there have been certain times where, and it becomes so ridiculous, where you're like, if I saw you in person, I'd probably be trying to talk to you.
right.
But because I've been looking at it in this filter, it's the same thing where you sit there, and I used to work with guys who were, I'm trying to think of the nice way to say this, portly, and hadn't seen the sun in a while, and their hair was combed with a fucking egg beater, right? And these were, and they kind of stank, and that sort of stuff. But these were the dudes who would sit there and look at like a celebrity. It's like, she's so gross. I'm like, are you kidding me? If she was standing here right now, you'd be kicking my ass to try to talk to her, right? But it's like, oh no, her knees are fucked up, or like, her eyes are.
Yeah, I got
like,
it.
No, man.
You got knees. You got chicken legs. Yeah.
No, you haven't been actually looking at real life human beings, right? This is just a presentation that's been, put together. Like, you ever see a video of one of these girls when they actually just wake up in the morning? They look normal.
Yeah, but they have an office girl there who is like, a 5 or 6 on a good day, and they try to like buddy up to her.
Well, they try to, but they don't know. They buddy up to her in the sense like their head hasn't lifted up from the ground the whole time, right? And that's their version of buddying up, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. They're not out for. I'm not picking on these type of guys, but it's that same kind of weird like. There's a weird insulated bubble with this that is like distinctly unhealthy, right? And that's the same thing where, and obviously I'm not going to go on these sites and sit there and mull over them entirely and create this fiction of oh, you know what? She is a real person, right? She went to school. She had a family, right?
Sure,
I'm not going to do that.
Right swipe on
I'm
her.
just going to be like, those cheeks are chubby, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, that's only relative to the other people in there, but that's just the way it goes. And that's the problem is, like you have it is skewed on one side where it's like, yeah, but you seem to think that you bring nothing to the table, right? So you get a bad attitude about it. You start thinking bad about guys, right? When it's like, okay, but you're a 4, you're a 5.
Sure.
So that's all you have is this as look. So I turn around, it's like, are you wealthy? It's like, no, work at Dairy Queen. It's like, are you like, well, and I get that. No, because sometimes you'll find super intelligent people doing like little jobs. They're like, fuck that. I hate the academic world.
Do that.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, you did 1 year,
Yeah.
this is the thing.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just.
I don't want to pick on folks, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Like, it's just the thing where it's Pat, it's the weird thing where sometimes you catch an attitude from somebody who has no business giving it to you.
No, dude, you catch that all the fucking time, dude.
And that's just
that's true.
That's what that's all about.
I guess the question then becomes how much emphasis do you put on that? So,
Like, if you're trying to date like a lot, you're like, I don't want that.
well, of course, especially if you just do it
What are you doing?
solely online. So, yeah, that seems like almost a recipe for failure. So,
Now, keep in mind, I actually, like, I'll talk about it. I actually did a professional matchmaking service.
Oh, how'd that go?
I didn't find that to be much better. That cost me $5,000. Thank you very
Jesus
much.
Christ.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was
I did
supposed to
that
be
for
for
a
real.
job once, and it was totally a waste of $5,000.
For a job?
Wait, what?
Oh, a long time ago. So,
To like match you for a job?
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. They said, well, go out there and find a job. I was like, wait, the fuck?
Aren't you supposed to do that? I mean, didn't you pay them to do that for you?
Yeah, I did, but they didn't.
All right.
They gave me a bunch of resource materials, and I'm making the dick fingers here for everybody who can see it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went on a bunch of bad dates, and I just went on a bunch of bad dates with people that just had a little bit more disposable income than your average female.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see how that would
Because
work.
the whole idea was basically like, does this really weed out the... And of course, the idea was...
Right, yeah, if you pay for it, you're going to get something worth your money.
Well, and the idea is, yeah, you're supposed to have people that do this for you, right?
Right.
That look at these things and they know you personally and they know the other people personally, say, okay, you two should be a good fit.
Yeah, but you're just a number.
No.
Well, it wasn't even just a number. It was also like, again, I'm trying to be nice about this, but it's still like,
Dude, it's just like I have 3 girls in the pipeline. I'll just send them you.
Exactly, yeah.
well, yeah,
It's not like my thing is with an agency like that. It's, the perception is I have 100 women. And I'm going to curate exactly which ones to go for.
oh yeah, yeah.
Instead, it's like no, I have 3 people who are paying me, so I'm just going to send them your way.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
hopefully this works and I
Yeah.
get paid. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, they would like call you and they talk to you and they say like, look, here's this person. It's like, you tell me, is this somebody that you're interested in? Right? They would ask you, right?
Sure.
And there was supposed to be like a contractual part of this where you're obligated to go out with this person like X amount of times and things like that, where you are supposed to actually tough it out and see if it actually ends up being what you like.
Sure.
It just never works out.
it seems really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, I met like one person on there who was absolutely fantastic,
Yeah.
but we just couldn't see eye to eye on religion.
Well,
That
those
was
are
a
the
big
three
deal to
things.
her,
Yeah.
and
Big one.
you know,
No, there's, what is it? There's 3 things you gotta be on the same page about. Religion is 1, kids are the other, and money's the 3rd.
I would imagine that like drugs is actually on there. Like your husband
I
can't.
don't know. That might be an ancillary to money.
I think they're in the same family, but not
Yeah.
always.
No, that's why your brother said that thing about that girl that he was dating the other week, where she was like, well, you know, we got to do the Jesus thing. Yeah. He was like, no. And I was like, no. Hold the pin on
Well,
that.
on
Man.
that.
That's the thing.
Hold
is-
the pin on
is
that, man.
He
because
said that.
That's
but
not
I
going to
don't
work
know.
out. You know, you got to be on the same page about that.
Yeah, unless he's in
Well, my
trying out the
parents
Jesus thing.
Huh?
My parents weren't.
I think your parents were adjacent enough where it was fine. So, you know, but you got to at least get close on that. So,
Boy, that's tough, man. I mean, to I mean, I think it's one thing between like, you know, like a Catholic and a Protestant,
that's close enough.
but versus
make
like
that work.
I'm Catholic and I'm an atheist. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think
that's a
that
little
works.
tough. Yeah. So, or if like, you know, I'm a bona fide jihadist. You're Buddhist. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Religion that?
Yeah, that is. It's called Islam.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean, it's like the branches where it's okay, but
Right.
yeah, there's other ones where it's definitely not okay.
No,
You're gonna meet my family.
Look, and there are plenty. This is the thing: is there are plenty of people who are like. I used to joke about this, like in high school, like where I knew kids that were Mormons, and then I knew kids who were Mormons.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
went to the church, but you'd see them drinking Mountain Dew. They didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
like
yeah, they're the ones who aren't allowed in the temple.
Yeah, like anything like that, you're like, so the way that I like to see this is,
It's like, how Catholic are you? You know, and there are plenty of people that like,
but it's like, it's like introducing dice in the D&D pool. So, it's got a hard stop on, like, you roll 6-sided dice and you roll up a 1 and that kills a relationship. The more of those dice that you throw in the pool, the more chances that it just gets fucked up.
it depends on how big of a deal it is to you. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
you know,
And if it's a
Anything
big
can be
fucking
that way.
deal.
I mean, it's like veganism. Like,
Veganism or, no, I can't live with cats.
oh yeah, I'm sure
No,
that
there's
there
a
are
bunch
people
of
out there that I'm sure like there will not be an Android phone in this house.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's a bigger red flag for some things than most others.
Valid religion is plenty as I'm concerned about, but I mean that's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's so. If it's a big deal, it's a big deal. If it's not, then it's not. But
Right.
it's not something I would write somebody off for, unless, of course, they were like proselytizing, right? Or it's like, I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna get this guy to flip. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
don't do that. don't do it. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to do that to you. You don't do that for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to become a libertarian just because of you.
No, exactly. And I'm not here. I'm not going to sit here and try to get you to flip in like, the Oscar Mayer camp or whatever. If you're into, actual food, I don't know. I don't know what
They
the
flip
fucking,
you over the In and Out, man.
yeah. What are you gonna do? Like walking here, I was like, you eat at Pizza Hut. Ew. It's like you're not subhuman. It's just you like bad pizza. It's fine. But if that's what you like, that's what you like.
Right.
Because I can't. You and I have been through.
I don't have to go there.
This is yeah.
I'll have a salad, please.
You just don't have to be like derogatory. It's like yeah. Like you and I have talked about it. Like I can tell you, and you have a lot of like culinary room to speak of, right? I tell you, the mac and cheese you and I like is considered swill to a lot of people who actually know. Yes, there's a lot of people. I know. I love it. Look, man, I'm gonna have a glass of that before I go to bed. Yeah, it's fine. But like, there are a lot of people like, this is fucking bilge. This is like the water in China. Like you can't eat this. This is crap. But for you and I, it's like, this is what we grew up on.
Yeah,
it
it's
tastes great.
Yeah.
This is what our baseline is of what mac and cheese is supposed to taste.
Yeah, well, that's different than like having a hot pot that's full of dog. I mean,
No, it's not.
it is, man.
Yeah, that one it is.
It kind of is, man. I mean, there is.
Big stuff's also there's
It's not either or. It's a spectrum.
It's like,
man.
no.
Like, well, I'm gonna make
like,
mac and cheese.
no.
You don't have to eat it, but I might eat it. As opposed to like, you fucking eat dogs? Fuck.
Yeah, there's some lines to draw.
Exactly.
Of course. Yeah. No, I understand that. So, I mean, yeah, religion can be a thing that's a sticking point, but it doesn't have to be.
Religion's a big one. Money is a big one. Kids are a big one.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can easily see.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
those are big ones. So,
I still argue that drugs is way up there because that
drugs.
you were talking about two
Yeah.
largely incompatible lifestyles if both of you aren't into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, what level of drug are you talking about?
Well, dude, again, and I don't have. This is not.
I mean, like,
I'm not decrying anything.
somebody like eats a gummy to go to bed at night versus like a crack smoker.
If you both
Big
are
fucking
into
deal.
it, it's
I mean,
cool. But you
yeah.
can't be like, well, my wife does crack. I don't. It's just not going to work out, man.
Yeah, if your
It's-
wife is a Heisenberg, that's a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
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 No, I mean, I think, but I guess what I'm talking about is like if someone, it depends on the drug. Like if one person likes weed, I think you can have a relationship where the other person doesn't. That's just like having a beer and not having a beer.
I guess
If someone smokes
they do.
crack, I think you got to both be in on it, or it's just not going to work so well.
Okay, so the thing about weed is like it just depends on their level, right? Because there are people that
It's
are,
true. I mean, if you sit there and smoke weed all day
yeah.
long,
and you don't. There are people that are all day.
oh yeah, no,
day,
I have
every day.
friends who are fucking all day weed, and it's like, yeah, you kind of got to be cool with that.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't use and you're with one of those people, I don't think you're going to be eye to eye. You're going to be like, just you're really like.
I don't know though, because I have actually known quite a few people who
You have to
one is big on weed and one doesn't do weed at all.
you have to decide on your cut points before you go into something like that. If the cut point is no weed ever, then yeah, she's out of the decision.
Yeah.
So if your cut point is like, all right, I don't mind if you get high every now and then, as long as it doesn't affect like the fact that you know, work or
No,
Yeah.
And it doesn't interfere with
exactly.
quality of life.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not losing your job. You're not, you're not.
exactly.
Oh, I knew plenty of guys where it was like, you'd ask me, it's like, do you smoke? And it's like, no, just at concerts, right? And that I totally understand, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just a guy and your wife is constantly high, like she is
That's something you need
wake
to
up in the
actually
morning,
sort out
go to
before
bed
you
at
get
night,
married.
man, I'm going to tell you, that one probably is going to be rough because you're like,
Well, you're not going to get hitched up to something like that unless you're okay with it. So
Yeah, I mean, that goes with even alcohol. Like,
exactly.
Always drunk. Like, well, that's going to be a fucking problem.
yeah,
Right.
Versus, like, I like to have a glass of wine at dinner time.
right.
Right. But also breakfast, and then another one before lunch.
Well, and I guess that's my thing. Is like, I guess it depends on the drug and how you use it.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like if you're into heroin,
Crack on my eggs.
if you're into heroin,
You're all in.
that's gonna come into a problem at
You
times.
tie off,
If you're into crack, there's going to be issues. It's not like I'm just having my crack at dinner.
No, there's
Right.
definitely
There's a little something more than that.
Yeah.
Someone who has a glass of wine or has smokes a joint at a concert. It's like, well,
Right.
Yeah.
Or even, it's just like, this is what you do. It's like you were talking about having a gummy before bed or something. Or if you had a joint before bed or something, it's like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just you said a second ago, like when you talk about, like if you meet somebody that's like 70%, like on your side, right? Like hitch your wagon to that. And you're right. It's just that there can always be something in that 30% that is like, actually, no.
Oh, sure.
This can't work because it's like, because I love her for all these things, but she also fucks other guys. And then that's kind of an issue.
That might be a 35%.
No.
that's a little bit less than
Yeah.
70%.
No. 70%.
I mean, and we like all the same music and everything, and I just like to have sex with other
There's a
people.
tip point.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right. And for me, like a person who would be completely like, she's stoned all the time, it would be like, that's a straight up like lifestyle
It
difference.
is, but then you wouldn't
That's
match
right.
70%
Yeah,
on somebody
yeah.
like that.
You want to match.
I guess that's where we see things as each individual component as as
additive. So
well, no, because it's like, it's one for one. It's like, okay, so like likes model trains, that's one, right? But also like
gross.
fucks other guys is one, right? So we're talking about. Listen, I'm not. I'm not value on.
Exactly.
I'm just counting the total. Like, if you have 100 things that you could be in common with,
You got to weight them accurately.
yeah, you're weighting them. That's what I was saying. Is
You got to weight them accurately. So smokes fucking meth every day. That's a +1. So, which gets me over 100, which means no. Likes model trains, it's a .01. So that's a give or take. I don't give right. So that's a type. You gotta learn how to negotiate here, man. So I mean,
where do you set your anchor point?
Well, I'm not sure how many like meth smokers are in the model trains.
that's how.
Imagine there's also some cleavage off of that anyway.
Has ginormous tits.
Right.
So +05.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
but that
But
smoky
I think
meth.
there's some relation to that, I like to not do anything and sit and get stoned in front of the TV.
Right.
It's going to be pretty accomplished on, they're not going to be, a bunch of other activities.
Well, these are carryovers every year too, man. So sits on the couch and smokes meth every day, carries over to the next year,
Yeah.
the following year, and the year after that. So
Well, I will say the meth smokers are typically active. They're usually not as couch sitting as you.
Yeah, but not the kind of active we think of as a healthy act.
Like rock climbing. No.
Minus 0.1 per
No,
tooth miss.
they're not like they're not marathon runners.
They can sprint
Yes, they can
short
sprint.
periods.
You
But
gave it
again-
this too much, man. Yeah, no.
Does it sound like I'm trying to make
I
this
will-
okay? I don't.
I will.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I think you're.
I doubt that's on a Tinder profile, man.
I guess what I'm trying to find is the situation where you match like 80% with the person, and then they're also a crack smoker.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, because if that happens, then you probably need to reevaluate your life.
That's right.
Exactly.
And determine maybe my 80% that matched up with her, I need to refix, or I just need to get into crack smoking.
That's a good point. Yeah, because you turn around and you're like,
Yeah.
that's the one opponent that's going to
But at the same time, it's like if you match 80% and she's smoking crack and you don't, and that's the breaking point, it might be the problem that you don't smoke crack.
Right. What the fuck am I doing?
Like,
wrong?
because if you smoke crack, then you might be 100%. Like, you got the best match that's ever existed.
Well, because I mean, yeah, if you have if you're doing this and not getting into the benefits from the crack, you're like, oh, we're a perfect match. I mean, we both love stealing televisions.
Fuck
we
yeah.
both love, robbing our neighbors, right? I mean, this is the thing.
You don't mind
Like-
rats in the house.
No, we're really lacking
Food on the
playing
counter
with
isn't an issue.
Like, I've
More
never.
dogs is better.
The less showers, we save money on water and heating.
Exactly. We both said plus on open source. We think
So
they're great.
maybe I need to start smoking crack.
It's like, why am I doing all this but not getting the benefit of the crack?
Exactly.
Why are we paying so much money on haircuts?
The dentist is an unnecessary expense.
Exactly. So it's much cheaper without teeth.
I mean, who needs all of them?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You only need a few.
Yeah.
Just to
We got
start
a
the
blender.
apple.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, modern technology has eliminated the need for teeth.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, she figured it out. She got rid of some of her teeth to buy crack. There you go. All right. So, crack. That's down. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough on the crack.
Yeah.
Enough on a crack. Anyway, what the fuck is going on with the Republicans here?
Ah, so entertaining.
What's going on with this?
What kind of huge question is this?
I don't know, man. So I just checked my phone a couple hours ago. We don't have a Speaker of the House. That's the deal.
No, they went through 6, and then they called a break.
I think that's like a record now, isn't it?
No, 2 was the record.
Right.
To what?
2 votes.
Oh, so we've.
I don't think they've ever not had a speaker after 2 votes.
Yeah, this is the Barry Bonds home run, right? You're not touching this one.
Yeah, no, this
Is
is
this a Barry Bonds Congress?
Kind of. Well,
Does it have an
right.
asterisk?
it should have one. No, I mean you just have a situation, and it's indicative of our modern society that politics now is not substantive; it's superficial.
Is this actually superficial, though?
Sure. What's not superficial about it?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't really see into it.
What's the
Mike McCarthy seemed to be like a slam dunk.
he did,
So-
but he's kind of establishment. So you have the Lauren Boeberts and Matt Gaetz of the world who are like, "Fuck the establishment," and we need whatever, and we want power and control, and it's funny because some of the stuff they are asking for is somewhat actually
They asked
okay.
for. I haven't
Well, that's the thing.
read
too.
any of this.
But that's the problem. Is that, well, they have sort of asked for some things, and Mike McCarthy has agreed to them, or Kevin McCarthy, not Mike McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has agreed to
Mike
them.
Kevin. Yeah.
But then they've asked for other things, but they've not really put it down. And people have asked, like, what the hell are you actually asking for? Because we don't really know.
What are they asking for?
Well, some of the stuff they've said is like, we don't want any more omnibus bills. Like, we want to go back to where you actually have a bill that you vote on a particular subject. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
I actually am down with
reasonable.
that.
This is how you're supposed to do things, yeah.
There was. And the reason is gridlock formed the omnibus.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
actually shit's got to get done. So
well, yeah. Well,
otherwise, you
well,
shut down the government, and then
Yeah,
everybody gets really angry.
right.
Yeah.
And so like that, they're more transparency. They're like, you have to have transparency in bills and how bills are drafted. I'm like, that's fine. One I thought was kind of interesting. They have the earmarks. So anybody who wants an earmark, it has to be voted on independently as an earmark only.
It'll never happen.
Right.
Right.
And it requires 2/3 of the House to approve it. And I'm like, I completely agree with it, but I know it's not reality.
That's not how democracy works. Yeah.
And there's a schism right now. They want to make sure that whoever's in there is not. There's a debate on whether they should be supporting Ukraine or not, and
Yeah, but they haven't said that's actually true.
What's the problem with the Ukraine support?
Well, it's not the support of Ukraine; it's the unfettered support of Ukraine,
right,
with
nobody knows where it's going.
no concept, or no. I mean, we've spent now $100 billion on Ukraine.
Yeah.
There becomes a point where it's like, how much more do we spend? And I think it's a valid question to ask.
It's a valid question. Well, I mean, when
I
it comes,
spent $1.2 trillion on Iraq, so
So do we do that
but
again?
we were there.
sure.
All right.
Right. We were there, though.
Yeah.
This is, Patrick,
The thing about the Iraq War that I've actually come to realize is that I actually won that shit. So
We actually did.
yeah, so we deposed
I
that
wouldn't defeat
guy, and defeated all enemies, including ISIS, and there's nothing
Well,
down there. So
I don't know if I
don't
say
know,
we
man.
defeated ISIS, but we've slowed them
we
down.
defeated ISIS. They're
We also created them because of Iraq.
fair. It's the second wave of Nazis.
So we had to create, we created and then had to destroy.
I don't know, man. I saw a really good argument about like support for Ukraine the other day. It was like, how much money would you spend in 1941 to defeat Hitler?
No, and I actually saw an argument.
And
Our military budget is 800 now. The new one
Yeah.
is $858 billion.
what's more than that? I think it's 1.2. So
No. The military spend is 858 billion.
if you include the overseas military spending, the aid that we actually give.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
not
it's
foreign aid.
pretty
I'm talking
close.
about like
Yeah.
actually spent on military purchase hardware.
Oh yeah.
So they have the 1.7 omnibus, and then that
Right.
included the 898 billion
for the
military.
Yeah.
And
Jeff will tell you, like, the military industrial complex is one of my trigger words now.
is it really?
Yeah, it is.
As a, like, you disagree with it?
I
or
disagree with that. Yeah.
why? It's true.
It's not that much money. So,
$1 trillion isn't that much money.
to each individual company, it's not that much money.
And see, that's what I find funny. This is interesting because I've actually gotten an argument online with somebody where they were complaining.
Well, you've been fighting on Twitter?
Oh no, I don't do Twitter.
Oh.
I do comment. I do comments in somewhat intellectual landscape where you can actually get into discussions. But I got an argument about, and it was Trump's 1.4 billion versus the 1.7 billion omnibus bills, because Trump's was 1.4 billion omnibus.
Sure.
And it came out of the concept of, are Republicans really fiscally conservative at all?
No.
And it's like, no, they're not. But they're more so than Democrats.
Well, yeah, sure.
And that was my argument. It was I was like, one will spend 1.4. I was like, Republicans spend way too much money. Democrats spend an egregious amount of money.
Well, yeah, because most of the...
And so the argument he came back to me was 1.4 over 1.7. I'm like, yes, exactly. You just proved my point.
$300 billion. Right.
And he's like, so $300 billion is your cutoff? And I'm like, well, yeah. I was like, I know our federal government spending has tainted our concept of what's a lot of money, but $300 billion is actually a lot of fucking money.
It is.
And so, yeah, you add $300 billion more to something, it goes from a lot to egregious.
Yeah.
And we back and forth on that the whole time. And it's because we've tainted the concept. To me, $900 billion for a defense is a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look at, like, well, Russia's is $50 billion.
Right.
China's is like $80 billion.
Yeah, and they suck.
So, yeah. And so there comes a level of, like, we spend an inordinate amount of money. Now, granted, when audited, the Pentagon can't find like half of it. Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
we spend a tremendous amount of money. But that was the concept in looking at Ukraine. And somebody's going like, well, wait a minute. We spend $800 billion a year just on our military.
Sure.
And we're trying to fight, ostensibly, Russia and China.
Right. And
It's like, well, what if I could defeat Russia for for 10% of what you spend on your
Exactly.
military. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. That makes a lot of fucking sense. And right now, we have spent 10% and have thoroughly defeated an enemy.
Not even 10%. So,
Oh, no, we've spent $100 billion.
well, a lot of the
10% in a year's budget.
yeah, a lot of that money hasn't gone out. So,
But it's already allocated for it.
well, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it'll be spent over time. I don't know, man. The argument that I saw, and so I'm not a big fan of like a lot of the foreign policy establishment and stuff like that. But one really good argument, I don't know where this came up on Substack somewhere, was like, well, how much money would you pay to actually dismantle an authoritarian empire? So, and it was like, well, I'd rather pay dollars than blood. So, yeah. So, if we've got somebody out there who's willing to spend the blood on it, all right, because Russia's absolutely gored itself on its own fence
Oh, yeah.
here. Yeah. So basically ruin the country for the next 20 years.
Oh, yeah. It's
So
remarkable how fucked up they are.
it's terrible, stuff like that. If that costs us $90 billion, okay. That's way better so than anything that we could actually do otherwise with that money. So in terms of actually securing world peace in the long run. So I don't know, man. Like the last 6-8 months, I've really flipped over to the idea that actually we are the fucking good guys out there and we do a lot of good shit. So,
Well, okay, so you touch on, this is where you talk about the $900 billion being spent on the United States military.
sure.
And for me, that's absolutely fine. And I've made this argument before that, yes, this could be a dangerous thing, but I can also say that,
Very dangerous game.
well, it's dangerous, but it's also incredibly safe depending on who has that
What game?
power.
Wait, define what you mean by game.
The whole the whole precept of possibly incurring World War III.
Well, and this is my argument here.
Yeah.
Nuclear war or World War III?
Either.
I think those are the same thing.
Yeah,
So-
and this is my...
I get it.
What I'm trying to delineate is between if we go to a nuclear war where we just destroy,
It's done.
humanity,
Right.
that's
It's done so that's worth infinite amount of money
Right.
to prevent. So I think we're doing a better job of preventing it by spending the money now.
But the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's more valuable to... Look, history has shown us that we have problems when you have a lot of close nations with roughly equal militaries in proximity to each other, right? Versus if you have one group that is predominantly strong, right?
Yeah.
And can intervene in moments, right? And put an end to that. Now, that means that there's a lot of responsibility, right? We whittled it down to 2 world powers a while back. Now we've whittled it down to 1, right?
Maybe.
You can argue the combined forces of China and Russia. I wouldn't.
what's the maybe?
So Russia is like basically the thing. All right. So it's just based upon the amount of nuclear weapons they have.
Right, but that, again, that's inconsequential.
Well,
Because
unless
if that
that
happens,
zero flips over to a 1.
right, exactly. If that happens, it
yeah.
happens. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, and that's where, like, I've been looking at some of the other foreign policy shit lately about Russia, and, we don't want regime change there because there's, like, fucking 10 guys who will break that nation up into 10 nuclear powers as opposed to 1. So,
That's a good concern that Putin is actually not the most.
it is. And so, yeah, the dude just needs to back down, and that'll just take enough pressure. So it's not about
He's very sick.
He is very sick, which is extremely concerning. So, which means he needs to pass that torch on to somebody else.
Because he'll hit a button easily.
I don't know if he's going to hit the button because, like, fundamentally the guy's still a Christian. So, and, doesn't want to destroy the world. Yeah, I know you poo-poo that stuff, but I think it matters.
You wouldn't be... Dude,
So-
it's not very Christian to fucking bully up on your
I
neighbor.
totally get that,
So-
man, but I think he completely, like, most wars are started by people who make bad calculations. He made a very bad calculation. on this one. All the dude needs is an out. So,
Well, and that's sort of what I've been hearing.
yeah. And, well, death is not the right out, because if Russia breaks up into 10 different provinces who are all nuclear armed, with, even if you break up that entire arsenal into 10 pieces, any one of them could actually start a fight with us that would end the world. That's bad. So
No, but I mean, it's what you're essentially doing. I mean, look, we already have that problem with North Korea right now. All right. So
yeah, but none of North Korea's weapons are.
it doesn't have to hit us.
It doesn't have to hit us, but at the same point in time, if North Korea launched something at Seoul, we wouldn't know with it. It would hit Seoul before we actually knew that it actually launched. So,
Well, no, we'd know. We just
we
wouldn't
know,
be able
but
to do
we'd have
shit
like
about it.
3 minutes of like response.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to
time.
do shit about
And so everybody would take a look at it and see, well, what the fuck are they doing?
We wouldn't be
that
like,
kind of thing.
where did it come from?
Yeah,
We'd
exactly.
know.
So, and so like, really, the dude just needs an off ramp, where he can actually pass on power to somebody else who's malleable. And so, yeah, I'm more than willing to pay $100 billion of my tax money, in order to actually like try and facilitate that. So I don't give a shit if half of it's going towards like fucking, arms warlords in Ukraine. I don't care about that. So, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, man, they just need to off ramp this shit. So, because it's going to get bad. So, the longer that war lasts, the more desperate the Russians are going to get. So, and really, when it comes down to it, I mean, the Ukrainians are just going to fucking poke them off every piece of their territory that they've got. So, over time.
But this is okay. The issue that the issue that we have here with this is, I get where you're coming from. The problem here is to turn around and say, like, we have been down the road of basically dictating who we want in power around the world.
I'm okay with that now.
You're okay with that now, but I can tell you that it's caused a lot of problems around the globe.
Man.
And
Yeah.
this is the thing.
Hopefully, we've gotten better at it. I don't fucking know.
No,
man.
I think we fucking suck at it. This is the
I think we
thing.
suck at it too, but I think we're going to get better at it. So,
Well, the question is whether we should. This is the
I think we totally should, man. I think really when it comes down to it, I mean, I wouldn't trust the world, the amount of power that we have with any other regime other than the one that we have right now. So, and I think like dissipating that amongst like just let everybody do what they want to do. I don't agree with that anymore, man. I mean, so
this is what I'm saying.
I'd rather be like, as a middle class American, I'd rather be in charge of voting in individuals into power in that situation than I would anybody else in the anarchy of the world. So I've completely flipped over on this in the last like 6 months. So
Look, I can see what you're talking about from a pragmatic side right now, but I'm just saying, like, flip it around for a second and just like, if say when we were like in Iraq, okay,
yeah, that was bad.
if Russia or China was actively giving money and military hardware to the Iraqis, there's no
I'd be
fucking
pissed.
version of this where we'd be like, that's okay.
And
That's
I'd be
the thing
pissed
is,
too, man. I agree.
so I'm like, all right, I get it, and I understand that from like, well, it's helpful, right, when it comes to this, but I can't justify that from a moral standpoint.
I'm not looking
Say,
for a moral justification here. I'm completely pragmatic on this, man. I'd much rather have like our State Department, regardless of all their flaws, even the Biden administration. I don't even care if they bring Trump back in 2 years. I think he'd do a better job than anybody else in the fucking world on this shit. I mean, it's a big fucking responsibility, and I'm, as a taxpayer, I'm willing to take that on my shoulders.
and that's fine. No, that's absolutely fine. But when you get down to it and you say, like, is this something that they're arguing about in Congress? Yes, and they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's totally
Totally
cool
agree.
for you to have that standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm not like, look, man, this isn't the leaving early argument
Sure.
like last time,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
This is something where it's like, yeah, you're going to see it this way. I'm going to see it this way, and
Yeah.
it's important for our actual representatives to be
Absolutely.
having this fight.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I'm
And if there are
curious-
6 elections right now, do 7, do 10.
fucking do 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, get the right guy in there. So, but like, I don't know, man. I mean, just looking at like the the geopolitical like situation right now, Xi Jinping has gotten completely off the rails. So, I mean, China is a fucking trick.
Fuck 'em.
Well, no, not fuck them, because they're going to actually invade Taiwan in the next year or two.
And what's going to happen to them?
They're going to get wrecked, and they're going to start a nuclear war. So over that shit.
I'm pulling back on that one. I don't think they will. And
I think they'll get wrecked if they try and actually invade Taiwan.
Here's the situation that
They'll get
I have
desperate.
some insider information on the invasion of Taiwan.
Oh, I'm curious. What you got?
The biggest problem
I watch this closely.
The biggest problem that China, is so the invasion of Taiwan has to go over the sea. So they have to put people
90 miles of ocean.
They have to put people on boats and send them across.
Fucked.
And there's a significant amount of training and support from the United States for the Taiwanese through both anti-ship missiles and submarine usage.
Yep.
That the first ships that go down are the transport ships. So every single soldier that's going to be transported over Taiwan will sink in the Taiwan Strait.
It's the million-man swim. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only thing they'll be left with is just bombarding the shit out of Taiwan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, which isn't out of the context, the question is whether or not China would do that, because China wants Taiwan for superconductor capacity. They want to eliminate that potential.
Yeah, that and ideological points.
Oh no, there's ideological points too. But if you take it,
kind of a retard.
Yeah, he's a
he's a totalitarian. But what you do is, if you eliminate Taiwan and take it over, and you've decimated it.
Oh, same thing with Hong Kong.
There's no point of having it.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's the point, though.
And it could be. You might have the ideological thing where it's like, we're just going to throw our bombers in there, we're going to decimate your cities, we're going to take it over, and you will have risked a tremendous amount of resources to do it, to gain absolutely nothing. And then the next thing that happens is Sri Lanka or whatever starts the semiconductors, and everybody buys from them, and China's not even a part of it.
Doing that here.
We're doing it here. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. Like,
so you have to look at the but I'm saying you have to look at the
it.
strategic point of China invading Taiwan. China's rattling the saber, but they're never going to fucking do it, because to do so is such a massive loss to them with no gain.
I would also argue one other point.
Sure.
Okay? Your argument about an actual invasion would have been stronger prior to what happened in the past few months with the COVID situation, because as of right now, okay, unlike Putin, okay, at this point, the Chinese have learned that now they actually will get things through civil disobedience. Okay, if they'd have tried this shit before, okay, not a problem. But this has changed things, and I'm telling you that as of right now, if the government acted in a way that was so antithetical to what they believed, they would tear the government apart.
Maybe
at this point. No, this is about. Look, man.
I don't know if they're quite
people were thinking like there was a lot of like, no way. People were like, no way, this is not going to happen.
I think the seed's been planted in that regard. I don't know how big that German plant is yet. But I also think the Ukraine war has shown China what not to do also.
Absolutely, I'm fairly sure those guys have talked.
Because what oh yeah.
They're
not even on the talking. It's
over the clothesline, like,
right, yeah.
You have
Mr. Prime Minister.
Hey guys,
you have
got a beer for my girl?
Right, yeah.
You have a lesser country that is able to repel and has been supplied by the Western world. And what the Western world has done to Putin is ostensibly said, at first we were hesitant, and now we're like, dude, you can use our missiles and shoot into fucking Russia now. We don't really care anymore. You can bomb the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Because that nuclear threat, we realize, is a little bit exaggerated, because nobody wants to use nuclear weapons because the instant you do, you're done. Like, your country's gone, you're dead, everybody's dead. And nobody's really pushing towards wanting to do that. because megalomaniacs might be crazy, but one thing they love is themselves.
Yep.
And so even Xi Jinping is seeing the situation where if I invade Taiwan, they'll be able to repel significantly. They'll get the support from the rest of the fucking world. And
Sure.
we're not going to get anything out of it. And the only way to win is I start shooting nuclear missiles at everybody, and that's not really a win because we all just die anyway.
Right.
I think no attack on Taiwan by China happens at all.
No, it would have.
I think
If Ukraine crumbled in a week, then yes, but it didn't.
I think that, yeah, I think the risk doesn't give anything close to the reward they would want.
Because keep in mind, these guys are both, Ukraine and Russia are neighbors on the same landmass, let alone not having to cross water, and they
can't do it.
They can't do it.
Yeah, crossing water is your death. Because every single transport with troops in will sink. And then you'll be left with the choice
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you'll be left with never being able to take the country intact. So you either decimate it and gain nothing by doing so, other than losing tremendous resources to do so.
Sure.
Or you rattle your saber constantly. And you just use Taiwan constantly as a political cudgel against the West. And be like, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to invade Taiwan. If you don't do what I say, I might invade Taiwan.
I've done and not even an informal poll. I mean, I started taking numbers with all of my female students. And they uniformly tell me that their least favorite subject in school is history, right?
That's unfortunate.
Well, and they tell me the same thing, and they're right. And they're like, well, why are guys interested in it and we're not? And they keep pointing out that guys have this obsession with military and how it intersects with history as being history. And we're just kind of proving that right now because we're talking about, well, this is where the transport ships get strong. Right? And it's like, you know what?
That's a good point.
I'm like, I'm not picking on them. I think they're wrong. But what I'm saying, because then it's like, well, why can't you get interested? Isn't this good or interesting to you?
Right.
It's like, you want to talk about World War II tanks? And the answer is always no. But yeah, it is always, without any kind of question, their least favorite subject. Except on rare occasions, you probably, you married one.
Oh, she
like
doesn't
history.
care about history.
Not anymore. Right?
No, she's a political scientist.
Yeah. Well, she used to like history, though.
Oh, her senior thesis was on Hong Kong. So,
Yeah.
So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you guys are right on this stuff.
Well, look, if we're wrong, we're just as wrong as you, right?
Yeah.
And there ain't gonna be shit I can do about it. I'll be sitting there petting my dog 1 second, and then we'll all be sitting there in the afterlife being like, "What happened?"
It'll take longer than
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see a black flash first.
Right.
And then you'll
Right.
be wondering
Right.
whether
Right.
I mean, it just depends. I mean, if I got the headphones on, probably not. But
It'll be fine.
I've got the
Yeah,
blackout
yeah.
curtains.
yeah.
It's a shit. Those are really good blackout curtains.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's that then.
I
Huh?
didn't realize I had nuclear blast level of blackout curtains.
Yeah, because if he and I are wrong, then okay, it's not really egg on our faces because we're like, well,
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah.
Faces will be melted off.
Boy, we botched that one, Ryan. Sorry, man.
Shucks. We owe Pat a beer.
Oh, and Pat's he's just looking straight down his fucking nose at us. He's he's putting it on us.
He's trying to text.
Yeah.
As fast as we can.
Yeah.
I'm getting it in there, you assholes.
The Wi-Fi tariff go down.
Oh, Pat,
Told you so.
one other sad thing that I gotta say, right? You know what I started doing this week? I started raising all the fonts on my computer screens.
Raising.
Man, yeah, making them bigger.
Oh, no.
Oh, you need cheater.
No, I didn't realize I've been keeping them down for years, as a sense of pride, not even thinking about it. And then just this, in the past couple of days, I realized I don't have to. I am old, and I get to put these up.
Dude, I've had mine up for years, man. I'm sorry to inform you.
Are they big? Like you can fucking like. Like some of you guys can read off your screen from outside your house on the sidewalk.
I've been playing The Witcher for the last 4 days.
Have you?
I have, because they had that new update.
How is it? Is it? It's like, are you having fun with it?
Phenomenal, man. So I never made it past the
Like the tutorial, yeah.
Well, no, I did the first map,
Yeah.
and then I'm on the second map now.
The
And
Skellige?
no, I'm not even there. I'm
Oh.
on Temeria or whatever it is.
The castle area.
The castle area with the Baron and the witches.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
The crones.
The crones.
Yes.
Yes.
This part's creepy. Yes.
The story is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame that you didn't get that far before.
I got into it now, and I had to up the mod. Because I couldn't see what they were saying. Like, shit. It was like, I can still do all the blocks and all the attacks and all the shit, but I can't read what you're saying.
Oh my god. Because you don't want to do it, but then like you have to say out loud, like, I can't see.
Because you're speaking too fast.
Like, yeah, with my mom when she came in on the 30th, right?
Yeah.
And I was like joking about this with Will and like, you know, his two little garbage disposal children are there that can eat that like, I mean, just the food they eat.
Dump like fucking cookies into them.
Dude, and I'm just sitting there watching them do it, and like I'm not chastising them, but Will can see. He's like, I got this look on my face. He's like, do you want one of these things? He's like, no, I don't. I have to think of the repercussions if I eat these. Now I have to be the person like, oh, does this have raw onions in it? Oh, okay. Well, if it's raw, they're going to keep me up all day. Like, how spicy is spicy to you?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, God. It's like, and then the other day, I'm like, fuck, I got plus 120, 150. You know?
It's so much easier.
Oh, it's so much more embarrassing. I actually moved my chair back from the screen. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to sit like this.
No, I gotta be right here.
Why is my back hurt so much? What's my posture all fucked
Oh
up?
my god.
Okay, well, you know, if you guys,
funny.
if you guys have been raising this, I don't feel so bad then.
No,
All right,
you're fine,
okay.
man. You're fine.
All right.
All right, buck 26. Last thoughts for the night, man. So
Nah, I got nothing.
you got nothing?
Yeah,
You haven't been here in like 6 months.
I know. I'm just tired.
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
How about you?
What did I end with last time that was so offensive?
Oh, I don't remember. The episode we lost because your sound was off and I didn't hear the thing.
Yeah. No, it was the other one where we were fighting. That's right.
Oh, about like walking out of your graduation. Look, man.
No.
cool.
It was. No, I remember at the end. No, it was. What was it? It was like when fat girls like get tattoos. It's like a tapestry or something like that. I can't remember.
We did talk about that.
So no, you got anything like that?
I think that's a good point. God. All right. All right. I'm Pat.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Okay.
See you guys.